in the years, particularly under military,
Yes.
we had strong civil society voices. When I mean strong, I mean potent voices. Bekora Somkuti, Gane Fawaimu, Campaign for Democracy, so many civil liberties organizations, Olisagbakoba, just name them. Besides yourself, and I'm not saying this to patronize you, I cannot count off my head 3 strong voices, of civil society that challenge governments. Even the Nigerian Labour Congress, that used to be very strong, has seemed to disappear. No pens, of course.
It's not that disappear. They've disappeared.
So why is it that the civic space has more or less shut down?
So it's a number of reasons. One was that the civic space, as you described it, at that time was organic.
Yeah.
And what was organic is that the student movement was there.
You rose through now.
Yes. And it was uncompromising. The professional bodies like the Nigerian Bar Association, uncompromising. Even Nigerian Medical Association, where Becker first came from, uncompromising. Oil workers, uncompromising. Nubife, that's bank workers, uncompromising. Insurance, uncompromising. Even the guys who control the airspace, they were unionists. But all these people, all these groups, first were beaten black and blue through all kinds of physical attacks by the military, and then they were infiltrated. And what made it worse is that our definition of civil society has also become monetized. And it also came under international infiltration. So NGOs came to replace social movements. And the money, it's easier for you to get money as an NGO if you are willing to work with the government than if you are opposed to the government. So if you go and look at the CAC today, there are probably more NGOs than there are schools in Nigeria. Everybody has a mushroom NGO to get funds because it gets to a point it also became a scam. But countries that are doing well across the world that have civil society that are also social movements. Social movements have ideology, they have consciousness, they have conscience. Those ones are no longer in existence. You look at the NANS today, NANS is worse than the people in government. All of their leaders are more corrupt than an average politician, and the aspiration of a NANS president is to become the biggest next thief, either as a governor, special assistant. It's co-option. You talk about the MBA today. The MBA is more interested in tinted glasses than human rights. Because I challenged the president. I said, why are you concerned about tinted glasses and police? How many cars are there in Nigeria with tinted glasses? That's your priority, but the police is dragging people through the courts with, cyber crime and even the National Union of Journalists no longer talk about journalism. Everybody's aspiring to become the oppressor. So that is why you cannot really say that it's social. And then the last part is that majority of the guys that we fought with had 2 issues. A lot of them weren't prepared for a prolonged battle. So the guys that we were in Campaign for Democracy together with Bekor and Sankuti thought the battle will last only a few months. Iroele will become president and they can resign and retire. Only to discover that the battle didn't end. So, and then lastly, you then had people who knew the tactics of the social movement, who now work for government. So, and whenever you have such transition or transfer of knowledge, dangerous knowledge, then they know how to wear you out. So when you are protesting, they will say, look, just give them 3 hours, they'll go home. In 1.5 hours, nobody's left. So they are there, and that's why I tell people, the most dangerous people that can take power are people who switch from left to right. Most dangerous. So you have a Keyamo there. What do you think he'll be telling President Tinubu? In fact, there's no protest in Nigeria until Tinubu came to power that Tinubu did not participate in funding. So you can't use the same tactic he used to come to power to displace him. All these Rufai, Malami that they're running around pushing from cell to cell, The reason it's easier for them to deal with them was that they know how to handle them. Because they used to plan these things against other people anyways.
What is responsible for the transformation or transmutation of angels to demons, if I may use that phrase? Just hold on for Sowore. Bayo Onanuga, for instance, you were both in the trenches. You worked together.
Bayo Onanuga was...
Who called you a career anarchist or something? Why would Bola Tinubu, Festus Keyamo, who went to court against the sitting president?
That's what I'm saying. These guys, it didn't start even from Festus Keyamo. It started from the likes of Oshibajo. Oshibajo was Tinubu's lawyer for a long. He was the one who helped. He was the one who was helping Tinubu while Ghanaian and Keyamo was there, were fighting him over his certificate. But they knew everything about Tinubu, all his criminal activities. They were the ones who aided and supported him. But they were also the people, because you will be surprised that even Oshibajo used to be in the civil society movement. He used to be a professor. He had an NGO at Yaba during the military, and they were writing reports. So what I'm saying is that it is not that they were good people who moved to the bad side. They were guys who were probably bad sides, or who were bad guys, who were envious of the bad guys and couldn't wait to become the bad guys. And when they got there, they became worse.
This is what Festus Keyamo tweeted just a few minutes ago. It is amusing, and I quote Festus Keyamo, it is amusing to see how some journalists and core opposition activists, opposition characters, are posing as activists, continually express their own deep-seated biases and as the wishes of the Nigerian people. How and where did they aggregate the views of the Nigerian people, according to Festus Keyamo? How do you respond to this?
Festus Keyamo of blessed memory.
That's wrong. He's alive now.
No, there's a part of man that dies when he switches from a conscientious, but maybe I was wrong. Maybe I thought he used to have conscience. That's why I say of blessed memory. The one that I used to know at Ghanaian Family Chambers is dead.
Last question.
Yes.
You are 54? 55?
Yes.
February 16?
Yes.
You're just a few days before mine. You can't do this forever. When are you going to quit?
That's what I was told when I was in university, 21 years old, when I was behind that bill. It's like, you can't do this forever. You're going to get tired.
You have a family.
You.
Don't you love a quiet life? Just sit back, stretch your legs, and have a nice time.
Look, don't all of us deserve a quiet life? Don't all of us deserve some great life? I have been privileged and lucky that I've gone from one end of the world to the other, and I'm happy about that. I don't take that for granted. Of course, we could have the question about family, legit, because you have kids who like to see you every morning. But my kids want to have me drive them to school and do nothing else. And I said, Daddy, thank you. When are you coming to get us? But I also look at other kids who can't get to school, or the one who gets to school and can't get back home because terrorists and bandits are abducting them. I'm thinking about people who don't go to bed tonight, where my children, before I left them, used to throw out food, chicken. And, one day my daughter wanted to throw out the big chicken. I almost caught it because my mind was in Nigeria. Kids in Nigeria don't care about expiry dates on milk.
Yeah.
But our kids, before they go to the refrigerator, look at it and say, Daddy, this is expired. Go to the store. And I'm looking at you like, if I take it to Nigeria, there's no expiry date. But I'm talking about privilege, but in between that is also that I always ask my family to please lend me to do some good work, Because I was away for 20 years in America. It wasn't the greatest life. But even when it was greatest, I was always thinking about home. There's not a moment passes that I don't think about Nigeria. And quite honestly, philosophically, the idea of being a stranger your entire life, is that life? Because that's the best you can be. And courtesy of Donald Trump, even when you're a citizen, they can revoke your citizenship at the airport. And you have to come back to where you are naturally. So why don't you all stay home, make our country a better place, so that we can proudly also be selling our citizenship to people for $50,000. Do you know now, and I don't know most people know that, to go to the US, to get a visa, you have to deposit $10,000. And that is a policy made by a person who claims that he cares about Christian genocide. You know, if a person, a number of people are facing genocide, you don't lock the door against them to leave the venue of crisis. You help them get out. When he declared that there was white genocide in the U.S., he immediately declared that if you want to go to the U.S., you have standby refugee, plans. South Africans didn't go. But here you declare that there's Christian genocide. I was reading somewhere today that there's also Christian oppression in Israel, but Israel was never designated as a country of particular concern because they are on the right side of the geopolitical agenda of the U.S. And here we are, and I'll say finally, we're about to undergo recolonization again if we're not careful.